So I haven't really been receiving any notifications from YouTube that I've been getting these comments. So a lot of times when I get a comment, I like to respond right away. But I went through the Perception Neuron video that I made many years ago, and I noticed there was a ton of comments or questions on there I never really got to respond to. So this video is really just a response to some of those questions. And I guess I have to look through some more because there's a lot more questions that's up there. And as you can see, we have the questions here. I'm just going to go through the list of these questions. This first one is perception neuron with face rig good for video game cutscene like dialogue and not so many fight scenes. I would say this is probably the best way to use it if you have something specific that the character needs to do. What I'm saying is there's still action and dialogue. For instance, you might have a character talking and then they have to pick up something or hand somebody something. You're not going to just go to a library to get that. Now, there's a couple of ways you could think about this. How much of that do you have? And do you plan on taking that idea to the next level? Meaning, those cutscenes, do you want to put them all together? Maybe make a little animated short out of it? If so, then yeah, you want to go the neuron perception way, and it will work. You know, obviously, if you don't have the same experience I had, then you don't have a problem. Face rig is really good for that, but there's a ton of new, especially these days, new technologies out there that makes it so much easier to do that. And secondly, what I would say about that is that don't try to necessarily do all that in one shot, because you then become more of a technical production as opposed to making a game. You don't really, as a small group who wants to create something, or an individual that wants to create something, you don't necessarily want to go about setting up two different technologies to work together. For instance, the perception neuron is going to capture the body, and then the face rig is going to capture the face. Even if it comes from the same company, what you're going to have is you're going to have a ton of technical issues, and then you're going to be capturing something that looks good, and then maybe the face didn't turn out, and then you're busy dealing with the data. What I'll tell you is that it's always best to separate these things. For instance, do all your action and do all the face rigging separately, and then you can concentrate on each thing at a time instead of finding out later that something didn't quite go the way you thought it should go. Because there's going to be cleanup, obviously. Tons of cleanup anyway, no matter what suit you use. So that's my answer to that. Hopefully that was a good answer to your question. The second one is, thank you for this, but what would be our go-to product if we just want to try out, or as an individual? Like they're saying if they want to just try it out or use it as an individual. I think you can go for something like Influx. They're in a very affordable suit, $500 I think it is. It's not going to give you the same quality as Perception. It's not going to give you the same quality as, say, like a Rokoku, but it's cheaper and you can use it for simple game motions and stuff like that. I would not use it on high-end production because some of the things that it does, it's really calculating some things. And I actually tested it out. I went to their studio, I tested it out. They're a really good group of people. And I think it's perfect for like medical stuff. So it all depends on what your goals are and what you intend on doing with it. And so I wouldn't put it as a competitor Perception. I would put it as something that everyone can afford and everyone probably can buy if they want a suit. So you got a $500 suit where you can do stuff in. It's pretty cool. But don't look at it as, oh, this is a replacement for Perception or a Rokoku or anything else that's out there that's high end. Or at least mid level. This is more of a really good suit, fun to play with, and is good for phone stuff or maybe even small apps and stuff like that. So that's sort of how you would probably try something out like this. The next one is, let me scroll down here a little bit. I'm an animator, and nowadays just started doing some personal projects using IP Soft mocap Studio and Face Shift, which is really good. So if you happen to work with these systems, please, what is the best practice to combine face and body? What's the next part? I want to use this for animation and rendering in Unreal. Oh, that sounds pretty good. So that's going to be fun. I've done it in Unreal and I've done it in Unity. The thing you have to understand, again, and I'm just going to reiterate what I said above about the two technologies. You're a single person doing this project. You have to use that suit. You have to get into that suit. You have to start up the technology. You have to start, take the data. You have to clean the data. You have to do all these other things. So you have to understand that while you can do face and body, and while there's technologies that allow you to do both, it's always good anyway. It's good practice anyway for an individual, including individual animators, to focus on one thing at a time. Here's what I'm saying. Even when an animator is doing, let's say, frame by frame animation or keyframe animation, let's say in something like Maya or something similar to that, they will do certain movements, certain large movements first, and then they will refine those movements. And later on, someone else might be even working on the facial expressions and the dialogue. But it is still a separate thing. None of these things are actually worked on simultaneously. And what we're trying to do when we get the suit and when we get the face rig, we're trying to get that done fast. I understand that. So it all depends on the quality that you're looking for. If you're looking for something like, Lord of the Rings quality, it's probably better that you understand that even if you were to do these together, you're still going to have to do them separately on their own later on. So the answer to your question is that the best thing to do with this is to get a system that puts it all together, like Reallusion and their character creator or character animator. You need a system that can handle it because it takes up a lot of memory. But that is a perfect system to have your body motion capture and your face capture in one. And what you can do for the face capture, you can make your own rig for face capture, with a phone or any sort of webcam or something like that, and or portable camera, and you hook that up to your own personal rig that you create on your head. Plus, you have the suit. They can all go together. But there are some companies, including Perception, I believe, who's actually making one or have one that actually has something to where you can do the face capture and the body capture. I just stopped using Perception because of my experience. But I'm not saying that someone else doesn't have a great experience, and if they do, that'd be great. They can go ahead and use that. However, what I'm saying is you don't want to become a company that basically does the technical aspects of capturing motion. You want to animate. You want to have fun. You want to make your game. You want to have the idea come to life. So here's what I'm suggesting to you. First, what's your script? If you don't have a script, make sure you have one, because that's step number one before you get any suit. Then in that script, how much action do you need and how much dialogue do you need? And how much action is in the dialogue? So you want to break down those things. And once you break that down, then you can say, okay, this dialogue is so generic, I don't really need a capture suit to do this. I can actually go get some stuff on libraries, the open source libraries, or even paid libraries, and I'll be paying a lot less to have someone else do it than me actually do it. So then you pay for that, and then you'll have your dialogue done, nothing special. However, if you have a ton of special moves, special action scenes, and things that have to happen in dialogue that specifically is going to be very dynamic and very difficult to do by hand, because we have to remember this is you doing it by yourself or a small team, then you definitely are going to need a suit, but you have to have the mindset that the suit is only to help you, because you're still going to have to do it manually. You're going to have the cleanup on some of the, specifically for fight scenes, that sort of stuff, in the game. Because remember, game development is movie development these days. Game development, you can create movies, you can do all sorts of stuff in game development that actually supersedes the production of even making a movie. The other question down here, are you going to consider buying Neuron Studio? Remember, this was a year ago. I didn't consider it because of the experience that I had. Now, remember, Neuron actually gives you a lot of stuff. They give you the suit. They give you the hands, they give you the fingers all in one shot. It's pretty good. But I need it to work. And this last time I made the video, I used it, and that was it. And after that node went out and all this other stuff, it's just actually just sitting there. I was actually thinking about giving it to a viewer. Maybe they can get a node or something like that. And I believe I had found some nodes online. In any case, no, with that experience, I'm not going to spend another $3,000, $4,000 on something I use one time and it's basically just sitting in there. In fact, I should just wear it. I should just wear that suit out for Halloween, or I should just wear it to work. Just stick a tie on it, because it's worth more than any suit I can ever buy. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm either gonna give it away to a viewer or something like that. Maybe we can come up with some sort of contest, maybe some sort of development of a game or whatever, and I can give it away to a user, and they can have that useless suit. You see, and then they can try to make it work, and they can spend 9,000 hours trying to make it work. In the meantime, I'll just go get other suits and other technologies that I can actually do the things that I want to do. Some of the visual effects stuff, some of the movie stuff, some of the game development stuff, that sort of thing. And maybe I'll do that with that suit with a tie. Who knows? But no, with that experience, I'm not necessarily thinking about their other one. And that doesn't mean that their other suits are bad. And it doesn't even mean this suit is bad. It just means that's my experience with the suit. So I'm sharing it with you guys just in case you thought about giving however much money it costs these days to the company who actually provided something like that. A really good analogy is I bought a frame on Amazon, and that frame came with the glass complete. It was in bundles. The glass was in a bundle of shards, and it was just all broken up. And I was thinking, I should return this thing. I didn't even return it. All I know is that, okay, I lost on this one. I am never going back to that company. I'm not even going to spend the time and energy to return it. I lost on it, okay? So this is how I feel with Perception. A lot of people are going to have good things to say about it, and a lot of people are going to have some bad things to say about it. But I'm the one sharing it, so I'm just telling you guys what I got. Also, I even tried to contact the company. I went above and beyond what the average user might do. Maybe not, because anyone who spends 4,000, however much money you spend in the thousands, right? You're probably going to make a few calls when something doesn't work. So the second question was, did I manage to set up the suit, right, and make it work, and what was the quality? I did. Obviously, I was able to do it the first time, and everything worked great. The quality is good. Again, you're going to need some cleanup. There were some issues with the nodes and how they would track certain joints and stuff. The other thing you need to understand is you're not getting off the ground with it. You're not going to be jumping and doing flips with it. So it's not going to capture that. Perhaps the new one does, but the old one's not. And if it does do that, it's interpolating the information that it's getting. It's interpolating or flipping the XY. So it's moving the world, not moving the person. But in any case, that might not be an issue for anybody. But yeah, it was able to work. And when it worked fairly good, right? If you looked at the video that I did, it wasn't a problem with that. And it all depends on the software that you're using as well. How it interprets the data that it's getting. You don't want to blame all of this on Perception, when you get glitches and stuff like that. And that's why I'm not talking about the data per se, because I believe I was using, in the last video I did on this, I was using character creator or character animator. Another one I used Maya, and another one I used Unity. Each one of those gave me different performance with the same data. So that all depends on that end. That's why I really haven't been necessarily talking about the data. The data that comes through is the data that you see. Sometimes it showed some glitches that was not in the data, but basically you get what you see. Does anyone know, the next question is, does anyone know if this got better after version 2? So yes, it got better after version 2. It did. However, the nodes and everything, the technology on that end is still the same. Who knows how long it got better? Again, I was able to use it for the first time, and then after that time, it was done. So maybe version 2 lets me use it twice, and then it's done. Who knows? But I'm not going to stick around to figure that out. Someone else has figured it out. You go ahead and give me a call, and I will praise them if you say it was great, and you can show the video, fine. I'm not really interested in taking a company down. I'm interested in saving people money. The next question, how did you turn on the Neuron program? And I showed this question because isn't this interesting that it's not so clear cut, these things, because it's presented like, hey, you too can do motion capture. So a beginner comes up, he says, wow, I can do motion capture? I can do Lord of the Rings? I can do Iron Man? I can do all these? I can be like the next Disney Studios? No, calm down, bucko, calm down. You cannot do that. You cannot simply be a beginner and get into this suit and all of a sudden become the next Marvel Studios. You have to have some knowledge behind this. And I'm not saying this to berate the customer. I'm saying this because the company themselves should point this out. Because they are marketing it as something that easy for everyone, that everyone can do. Okay? Now, there are other suits out there, more expensive suits. There are other technologies out there that's camera-driven or, camera-driven technologies that are more expensive, more accurate. Though they tell you that it takes work. They don't sit there and tell you you could just jump into this and you could just do it. They're not marketing it to people who may not have the experience or the knowledge on the technical side to be able to run it. This is the crutch of the issue here. The issue here is that there's a group of people, companies, that are making products and they're telling you it's as easy as pie. And then there's a group of people making better products telling you, no, this is not easy. You got to know what you're doing. You got to be a bit professional in how this is done. You got to have some information, possibly have a crew. Those people do sell it for more, but they tell you up front, this is not a click of a button or jump into a suit and a click of a button. These companies market it as a hop, skip, and a jump. Set it and forget it. Jump in there and you got your suit and you now just created the best animation in the history of all mankind. Since the time that Moses animated the Ten Commandments on that tablet, frame by frame animation. No, that's not the case. The case is that if you want the kind of animation that most beginners are thinking about and most users are thinking about who are into game development, they've seen other games, they've seen movies. If you're into that and you want that, then you're going to have to do some extra work that is not predicated on the suit itself. It's predicated on the software that you're using to take that data and to put it into another character or whatever, into another application. Do you have any recommendations now for recording 3D animation via motion capture on a budget, $5,000 or under $5,000? Yes. So again, I've mentioned this before, and there's a couple of things you can do. If you don't have the skills or the know-how, you don't want to go the route of on a budget. Remember, we're talking on a budget, so you don't want to necessarily go Maya if you don't have the money for that. You want to go something like Blender. Blender has greatly improved. In fact, there are some motion capture stuff now in Blender that you'll be able to use that make it really impressive. If it doesn't have what you want, you can easily purchase a plugin that actually makes it very easy to do some motion capture inside of Blender. However, I wouldn't even go to the Blender route. I would go ahead and get Unity, or I would get something like Unreal Engine. I would get the plugins that the company actually makes or another third party makes, and it allows you to capture directly inside of the game engine. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, maybe I might not be making a game. I understand that. But game engines aren't just for making games. Go ahead and look at Unity. Go ahead and look at Unreal Engine. They are actually, they're marketing a lot of their properties of the game engine for making movies. And movies have been using it to make animated film. The renderers are much faster in Unity than it is in Maya, actually, for simple renders and making film. And that's changing as we speak with the new burst compiler and all the other stuff that's going on with with Unity. So what I would suggest to you is first make sure you have your script. Break down that script. And then you can determine how much action, how much dialogue, how much, simple actions that you need. You want to break your simple actions, your general actions, down to the idea that you're going to pay for that. Meaning you're going to go and you're going to get a person talking, and you can tweak it a little bit. You're going to go and get a person drinking because they have to sit at a table. You're not going to think of having a suit to do that. And most of your conversations, you're going to figure out, wait, do I just need him to talk, or do I need him to move his hand, or whatever? Because you're not going to want to get a suit for that, you see. The character doesn't necessarily need to do any sort of dynamic turns or hand the other player or the other the person that they're talking to anything special or do anything specific. It needs to be more generalized. So all of those concepts, you are not going to need a suit, and that means you're going to break down the cost. That's number one. Number two, you're going to have a backup system for your animation. You won't just use Unity. You'll use also something like I mentioned earlier, Character Creator and Character Animator. Those two things actually have a lot built into it. There are issues with Character Creator and Character Animator. You're not going to use Character Creator and Character Animator as the one-stop shop of collecting all your information. When you're trying to save money, you have to have an amalgamation of different technologies. You have to sort of merge them in one pipeline. So the first pipeline is going to have Unity. It's basically free until you start making some money. You're going to have Blender. First Unity, then Blender. You're going to use Blender to be able to capture maybe your facial stuff because there's a ton of plugins in there for Blender. You're going to use Character Creator to be able to test out any sort of movements and get free movements that's already in Character Animator and Character Creator. And it allows you to make new characters and stuff. So that way you can actually save money on that. So now you spent the money on the applications that actually support what you're going to do. As far as the face capture, you're going to use, you're going to separate your pipeline of capturing your face. Don't, on a budget, try to capture the face altogether, including when you have applications that allow you to do so, unless you're only focusing on one at a time. Meaning, okay, I've gotten all the motions and stuff down. Now I'm going to focus on the face capture. You would do that anyway, because you don't have a huge crew. If quality of the face capture doesn't matter, capture both of them at the same time. But if a character needs to have nuance in their face and they need all these intricate things that you want to put in there, you want to separate the face capture from the full body animation. So what I'm saying is, go ahead, get Character Creator, get the Character Animator. You would use something like Rokoku, and then you're going to get yourself a face cam and make your own self a rig. You capture everything at once, but you focus only on the body when you're capturing everything at once. Then you'll do another pass on simply focusing on the face. So see, this is what I mean by doing them separately. Even if you have the capability of doing them together, you're also going to do them separately. So this is how you put this stuff together. And then if you're doing a feature length and you need to render, you would then use some of that money to purchase a render farm license. So that's where your money is going to go. And the last part of this equation would be the motion capture suit. So obviously I can't break down everything that you're going to do, but you're talking about recording 3D animation. So I don't know what you mean when you say 3D animation. I don't know if you mean visual effects 3D animation where it's only a part of the scene, or 3D animation to where it is the entire movie, or 3D animation to where it's something in the background, or set extensions, or body extensions, or something like that. So that part needs to be clarified, but hopefully that answers your questions. And that's all the questions I have for right now. Maybe I'll come back and try to find some more, but again, I haven't been getting my alerts from YouTube, and I had to go through and find these. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you share this video, and I'll see you next time.